So I don't, quote, see the U.S. now becoming a sub-player in all this. That was a foregone conclusion. I'm saying now the New World Order, the Anglo-American Empire, as you call it, is moving to that transcendent point where they sit above all the nation states with their private intelligence networks in Russia, in China, in Israel, in the U.S., just playing us all off against each other.
I don't believe that they have total world control. No, I don't. I think that there are real conflicts in the world.
I don't think they have total world control. I'm saying they are dominant.
Dominant up to a point, but fading fast. And Obama is really a flight forward, a desperate bid to give this a facelift, to give it a new lease on life. And if you block Obama, you're going to be dealing with a severely weakened imperialism under conditions of much greater difficulty in organizing mass consensus.
I'm going to skip this break for people behind the scenes watching on prisonplanet.tv and listening on the exclusive Infowars.com streams. And then at 24 after, I promise, no more pontificating by myself or Webster. It's all great info. Steve, Rico, Elliot, Cliff, Jeff, and many others. We're going to go right to you in about 5 minutes. But okay, how does it affect the American people? Let's be centered on ourselves for a minute and take the local regional view for North America. What is better for the American people, for the empire to crumble and fall apart, or for us to mindlessly support it? Obviously, I believe mindlessly supporting it, they will only rape us that much more financially and physically, and so it is good to let this fall apart.
I would go with the populists, those prairie farmers back in 1890 meeting in Omaha, and they formulated the Populist Party program, which basically said a mass movement needs to take over the government and turn it against Rockefeller, Morgan, and the Wall Street Group. And I don't think that has changed. That's what we should be doing.
So we need a Golden Cross speech.
Yes, although he's that's William Jennings Bryan. He's not really an organic representative of this. He is at least a politician who grew up in that milieu, and he's trying to fight Wall Street. Again, maybe he's not a good example. But if you want to think who's like us, who's isolated like we are, or relatively with not that much money, take those populists of 1890, and I think their strategy is valid. Now, you want to oppose the empire. You also want to construct an economic alternative to this. And for me, this is clear. The New Deal methods worked then. They will work now.
Oh, yeah, it's turned us into a bunch of dependents, broken down the family. The same foundations you talk about.
But this is not
Webster,
not the New Deal.
Webster,
the New Deal has been gone for 40 years.
Hey, Webster, 100 years ago, the big foundations, as you know, wrote how they were going to get us addicted to government. But see, you've got to...
Look, I tell you, the populists in Omaha said the government is going to belong to us. The goal is not get government out of your life. The goal is you take over the government. Now, Milton Friedman, of course, from the Rockefeller Chicago School, says government is always the problem. I don't buy that. Wall Street, finance oligarchs.
See, that's only one hand of the elite. That's only one hand. They claim they don't want government, but in truth, they do want big government to suck off us with corporate welfare.
Again, I don't, this.
Hold on, Webster. We're going to behind the scenes. I want to abbreviate this. We'll be right back. Okay, go ahead now. We got 4 minutes.
I don't see that as the meaningful distinction. In other words, right now, you've got the question of foreclosures. If you leave this to the market, or if you leave it to the stuff we've got in place right now, we're going to have millions and millions of people thrown out of their homes, and we're going to have millions and millions of domestic refugees and homeless. How do you stop that? You do it with a uniform federal law. No foreclosures. Foreclosures are over. You foreclose, you go to Leavenworth on a home, on a farm, on a business, a taxi company, a trucking company.
Well, then people just stop paying completely, and then things really implode. And then we owe interest on all that debt to the bankers.
But no, we're going to wipe them out. In other words, what do you do with the quadrillion or 2 quadrillion of derivatives is you wipe them out. You could do it 2 ways. You can do it with a law that simply says derivatives are illegal, because they are, as they were up until the early 1990s, or my method, tax them out of existence. Put a 1% Tobin tax or
and because they're blind shorting, naked shorting, and there's no real money behind it, they won't even belly up for a 1%.
Well, yeah, we're paying. I don't know what the sales tax in Texas is. It's 5% in Maryland.
7%.
And you don't pay it on groceries. In Virginia, it's 5 to 7, and you pay it on groceries. The groceries is a big part of it. How come the Wall Street finance oligarchs can't pay their fair share? How about that Tobin tax, that securities transfer tax on, if it's 2 quadrillion of derivatives a 1% tax, and suppose 2/3 of that is in the U.S., you're up to about 1.2.
Well, derivatives are predominantly global, and so the global government will have to implement that?
But no, wait, there's no global government. There's the United States government, using sovereign economic powers, can tax J.P. Morgan Chase and say, well, you have 500
Well,
billion.
you said the Tobin tax, and that was introduced as a world tax.
I have a better way to do it, which is to not just to tax foreign exchange transactions, but to tax all financial turnover. It would be a speculation tax. Right now, 40% of the price of oil, or 50%, is pure speculation. What are you going to do about that? If you want the market, that speculation will get even worse, because even the regulatory regime we have, which is a joke, will be gone. They'll be gouging you without surcease. What you've got to do is to say, all right, you want to speculate, you're going to pay a 1% Tobin tax on all the derivatives.
Well, you could also make it illegal to, engage in all this leveraging where they don't even put money in.
Yeah, right. But now you're talking about government action dictated by the people against the financiers. That's all it comes down to. Take over the government, use it against.
Well, here's an example,
Morgan
Webster. Look at government education and what it's done. Before, we didn't have government education, have the smartest, most educated people in the world. Now I hear people in stores talking about Russians attacking Georgia in the U.S.
There's a historical watershed that you've got to be aware of. In 1968, the New Deal came to an end, and this was by the folly of Johnson, by the
and
Vietnam
they gave us
War,
the Great Society
and all the rest. What we've had for 40 years after that is the rule of the reactionary Republicans.
Is the social engineering is what we've had. We have had the eugenicist carrying this out while the bleeding heart liberals run around saying help the poor people.
This all relevant, but the thing you got to focus on is production. The deindustrialization.
I'm telling you this, any government system you come up with, no matter how well-meaning, will be hijacked by the oligarchs, and it always is.
Well, then it sounds like we live in a hopelessly fallen world. And
no, if we remove a lot of the taxation mechanisms against us, I'm all for taxing them, but you notice we'll never get that, then...
It has been done in the past, and the New Deal was essentially that, and it can be done again.
Okay, we're coming back to the main transmission right now.
Okay.
I want to come in with intro music, folks. I want to take phone calls. We're talking to Webster Tarpley. Here we go.